Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. And first of all, let me say on behalf of the President of the United States, President Trump, I want to thank you for your friendship and for the friendship that Israel has shown towards the United States and so many issues we work on together that extend beyond the causes of war and peace, but advances in technology, advances in economics, and those remain strong and enduring and unwavering. And not enough attention gets paid to those links, the economic links, the cultural links. We're here today, by the way, later this evening to inaugurate and to open to the world perhaps one of the most important archaeological sites in the planet, and one that has deep meaning to so many people in the United States as well, in the Pilgrim's Road over at the City of David. And so it's an honor to be here and be a part of that. As far as the President's been clear on the ongoing issues in Gaza, and that is that every single hostage, both living and deceased, needs to be home immediately. Hamas can no longer continue to exist as an armed element that threatens the peace and security, not just of Israel, but of the world, and that the people of Gaza deserve a better future, one that cannot begin until Hamas is eliminated and until all of the hostages, both living and deceased, are home. And he remains committed firmly to that objective. And that's what we seek to talk about today, have talked about today, and will continue to talk about, and that is the road forward on how to achieve those things. Those objectives remain. Those objectives remain in place. Beyond that, obviously, we cooperated and were involved together just a few weeks ago on the issue of Iran and Iran's desire to possess not just nuclear weapons, but short and mid-range missiles with the capability of threatening our presence here in this hemisphere, in this region, and of course the safety and security of the Jewish state. But I would venture to say a threat that actually extends well beyond that to the kingdoms of the Gulf and eventually even into Europe. In fact, some of the missiles they're trying to develop now can already range countries in Europe. And so a nuclear Iran governed by a radical Shia cleric that possesses not just nuclear weapons potentially, but the missiles that could deliver those weapons far away, is an unacceptable risk, not just for Israel, not just for the United States, but for the world. And that's why the President continues with our campaign of maximum pressure. There will continue to be maximum economic pressure on Iran until they change course. That's why we are encouraged to see our partners in Europe begin the process of snapping back sanctions on Iran. They are clearly out of compliance with what was already a flawed deal to begin with, and we encourage them to continue down that road. We 100% support that. That is exactly what needs to happen, and we remain firmly committed, as I said, to the President's objective, which he's been abundantly clear on, and I want to repeat. At the end of the day, no matter what has happened or happens, the objective remains the same, and that is all 48 of those hostages, both living and deceased, need to be home. They need to be returned. They never should have been taken. What happened on October 7th was an act of unparalleled barbarism, and what's happened since then have been repeated acts of unparalleled barbarism on the part of Hamas. Hamas needs to cease to exist as an armed element that can threaten the peace and security of the region, and the people of Gaza deserve a better future, but that better future cannot begin until Hamas is eliminated. That better future and that kind of peace is not even possible until the hostages are released, all of them, every single one. And so that's what we continue to be focused on. That's what the President wants to see happen, and that's what you can count on our unwavering support and commitment to see come to fruition. Hamas can surrender tonight if they want, lay down their weapons. The problem is they're a terrorist group, a barbaric group, whose stated mission is the destruction of the Jewish state, so we're not counting on that from happening. Look, I think we would all, every single person I know, I don't know of anyone who would not rather see a negotiated settlement in which Hamas agrees to no longer be a terrorist group, lay down their arms, free the hostages, by the way, not just the hostages that they're holding from Israel, but frankly, the people of Gaza that they're also holding hostage as human shields. So that would be the ideal outcome, one we would all like to see. It's one that's been worked on. But I think we have to be prepared for the fact that savage, terrorists don't normally agree to things like that. But we'll continue to pursue that route. It's the ideal outcome, but it may require ultimately a concise military operation to eliminate them. We have to remember who we're dealing with here, and that is a group of people that have dedicated their lives to violence and barbarism. And when you're confronting that hard reality, as much as we may wish that there be a sort of a peaceful diplomatic way to end it, and we'll continue to explore and be dedicated to it, we also have to be prepared for the possibility that that's not going to happen.
Israel's decision to act against the Hamas terrorist leadership in Qatar was a wholly independent decision by Israel. It was a decision taken by me and our top security force chiefs. It was conducted by us, and we assumed full responsibility for it because we believe that terrorists should not be given a haven, and the people who planned the worst massacre of the Jewish people since the Holocaust cannot have immunity. So we did it on our own, period. There's immense cynicism and hypocrisy in the condemnation of Israel. After 9/11, the Security Council of the United Nations passed resolution 1373. And that resolution said that states must not harbor, give safe haven, finance, plan, or allow such actions for terrorists. It didn't say some actions in this part of the world, or some nations cannot do it in this part of the world, but they can do it in another part of the world. And of course, the United States acted very boldly against the terrorist havens that were given to Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, the terrorist haven that was given to the chief terrorist, bin Laden, in Pakistan. Those countries that are condemning Israel today did not come and say, well, what a terrible thing was done. The sovereignty of Pakistan was violated. The sovereignty of Afghanistan was violated. You don't have such sovereignty when you are effectively giving a base to terrorists and a place where they can ply their gruesome trade. So it's the right of every country under international law to defend itself beyond its borders against those who would kill their citizens, murder them en masse. That is what guided Israel. What are we trying to do in Gaza? Where you say we're bringing down those towers to intimidate people? We're not bringing down those towers to intimidate people. Those towers are serving as Hamas strongholds. But what we're doing is we're telling the population, because we're going to take over and destroy the Hamas stronghold, they're one of the last two strongholds and the most important one that Hamas has left in the Gaza Strip. We ask you to leave. And what is Hamas doing? They're asking them to stay because they want to use them as human shields, as they've done from the beginning of the war. And we say, leave, please leave. Do leave, fast, and as fast as you can. And that's what we're doing right now. Hamas is telling them, Hamas is not only telling them, don't leave, but in previous occasions, including a few weeks ago, they shoot them. They shoot women and children in the legs, beginning with the legs, then they go higher if it doesn't work, to keep them in harm's way. So I think that to the extent that the world again is falsely condemning Israel, they should get their priorities and their facts right. It is Israel that is trying to clear the combat zones from civilians. It's Hamas that's trying to keep them in. So we'll continue to do what we can to make sure that they're out of harm's way, and we'll complete our mission, which is to free all our hostages, get them all back, and make sure that Hamas is eliminated.
And on the assessment of the impact of the strike, whether the leadership was killed in Doha?
Well, we're still getting the final reports. I'll tell you what the impact of the strike is. We sent a message to the terrorists. You can run, but you can't hide, and we'll get you.